Everybody, it's Chris and Lumen, and we're back to world news and current events and where are we at in the game sort of stuff. It is getting absolutely comical. And I'm going to talk about like what I think. I'm going to talk about like what I see the story of the world presenting. I'm going to be very careful with my words because I don't think a lot of people are catching on to this whole kung fu of not knowing yet. I know it's tricky. It takes some work. Like not know it, like some of it's still just kind of automatic. It takes a while to break down. Maybe you got to do like specific work like I did to break it all down, the structure of everything that they taught you. But I'm not talking about I'll talk about some things, but like you really got to get behind this whole not knowing thing. Because not knowing is what opens the freaking door. Uh, Not just, especially when it comes to the intangible things that we discuss a lot. We attach names to things, we attach labels to things, but that's just a perception that can't necessarily be proven. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. I think right now the game that we're in is trying to make it obvious. To me, it's becoming like comical. Like most people would be looking at it and like freaking out, but it's becoming absurd. Some of the Do you just like specifically time it for when I'm recording? I'm not making this up, seriously. But the story of the world has chapters. It has a sequence of events that they've been mapping out for some time, letting you know about. And then when it gets close to things, when it's time to trigger them, then they make it more obvious. But this is like taking off like a rocket. And it's happening right now, which today is what? The 17th. So the day after tomorrow, Pluto finally moves out of Capricorn. It's like completed its whatever it's doing to destabilize the structures of power in the world will be complete. Moving into Aquarius. That's what I see as like the real trigger. But the stuff that she showed me last night, the stuff she had me make last night, the stuff that I've been getting all day today, and then the things that have actually happened in the world today, like this is becoming absurd. We're definitely entering another period of ramping up. And there's a lot of symbols and things that are popping up that she has actually been slipping in the videos ahead of time. And now I'm seeing them show up on the world stage. Like, I don't fully understand. I don't fully know what they mean yet, but I don't know. I'm just like, see, I'm ready to go home. Like there's nothing else I can do here. I just have to sit here. I've already finished my story. Now I got to wait for the world to finish its. And the things that popped up today, like nobody said it yet, but I immediately saw why. Like it's so absurd. Like if you hadn't seen it yet, the thing that happened today was out of the blue. Trump's coming to office, all this stuff, but out of the blue, and of course, it wasn't really him, but Joe Biden authorizes Ukraine to use like UAVs or long-range missiles or something in Russia. Okay, that's the one thing that Vladimir Putin on the world stage story script, that's the one thing he said, if you do this, I'm going to use nukes. So there's all this bizarre stuff. I already had a ton of bizarre stuff to talk about. But then on top of that, like I can't find a clip of him actually saying it, but I don't think they're connected, but Joe Biden's given some press conference in the Amazon jungle. Like it doesn't even look freaking real. It looks weird. He's got like some sort of like explorer shirt on and he's talking about something. I don't even think he talked about this stuff. And then he wanders off into the jungle. At the same time, he's like, oh, by the way, Ukraine, go ahead and use the long range missiles. It's okay. You can go ahead and use the long range missiles in Russia, which will start World War III, which makes no sense because Trump's already been talking to both sides. So, what is this stupid ass story that we're in trying to do? Well, I'll tell you what it's trying to do, and it has to do with the things that we've seen in the last couple of days. So strap in because things are about to get interesting. So if you want to know more, don't go away.
Relax, David. Open your eyes.
Okay, since I obviously led with that, I'll have to like start with that and then work my way backwards to where I was originally going to start. So I was getting ready, I was talking to a client and getting ready to shoot the video. And then I just happened to check X and like saw something new trending. And then it was popping up in YouTube and the news feeds and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm saying this is what the story of the world is telling us, the script that we're in. For whatever reason, I think I said it once before. This is all hypothetical. I don't know. You need to like learn the magic of I don't know. I don't know opens doors. Okay, when you think you know, when you've already got scripts and stories and meanings and things in your head, like I had someone tell me the other day, like this is how the world works, and it's a system of upgrading you spiritually and to do this, and then you join another planet. I don't know. I'm like, how do you know that? You don't know that. You believe it. I used to know all sorts of stuff, but I let go of it all. All I know is I know them. And I also know that that is like the forms they take for me. They do serve purposes. It's like wisdom and love, but they're much deeper than that. But beyond that, like I don't like it's a consciousness thing, but there's a lot we don't know. We just think we do. We just think we do. But either which way, I just got myself off track there. Sorry about that. Um, so the thing that I saw was like, oh, for whatever reason, maybe it's because, oh, I know what I was saying. I'd said before, like recently, that it was weird how the story of the world is showing you this big Trump victory, this big Trump landslide. And like all the bad guys were like notably reserved. And like if we're going by how story scripts run, the bad guys that run everything, if they're going to lose their power and they know that the new power is going to come after them, they don't just typically hand the keys to the house over. It's more like, well, we'll just burn it all down. Yeah, we're not going to let you have it, so we'll just burn it all down. I said that the other day. And this kind of fits with that script, but it fits a bigger script too. So why would this sequence of events be happening within the script of the world story? Like, what sense does that make? How does that benefit the bad guys? Well, it doesn't. But again, it's not, you're dealing with a script. So what moves the story forward? Why would you want to instigate nuclear war? The answer has been in the last couple days. And in case you did the homework last night, which I put in the community tab, I said, hey, she led me to rewatch this documentary. And I'll deal with that in a minute. Because whenever you have like these cult of personality types, like your Stephen Greers, your David Ikes, or whatever, there's going to be someone that's going to get all triggery and like, oh, this guy, you mentioned him, so that means you believe everything that he says and you trust him. I didn't say that. So just woosah, calm down. Calm down. There's always nuggets of truth in everything. You need wisdom to pick them out for you. I don't trust any of these people as far as I can freaking throw them. That doesn't mean they don't sometimes drop like legitimate stuff. And there's different parts of the story too. I could care less about Stephen Greer's like government this and the government that, and this all happened. I'm like, how's that affect me? It doesn't. But in this particular video that we shared, it's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. Once you get past the first third of the documentary, the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind one, then that's when it starts getting into the stuff that's relevant to us, that's interesting, because it starts talking about consciousness. And then it starts going into like all these different types of contact events they've had. And there's some interesting ones in there that have got some hallmarks of Sophia there. But that's neither here nor there. The key thing is when it comes to the aliens, I don't know that that's what they are. I don't know that any of that is accurate. That is simply the explanation that has been fed to us for a long time. I'm not saying I believe any of that stuff. Oh, I believe it's there, but what are they? I don't know. I know this. I know they typically tend to do a lot of the same stuff that angels in the Bible and stuff like that do. I've always said, like, I think that there's like one big story that's sometimes broken up into different parts and looked at it from different angles and given different names. But we don't really know what the truth is behind any of it. We just know that these things happen. UFOs get really triggery when it comes to nukes. They're documented as hanging out around places where we store nukes. They've been known to shut down nukes. When we first started shooting off nukes, that's when they, at least according to the story, when we started testing nukes and stuff like that, that's when they really started showing up. They're like, hey, what are these little hairless monkeys doing down there? Like, knock it off. Like, you're upsetting things, according to the story. So light ships, whatever they are, whoever's in them, or if they are just one thing, like, there's that too. I actually heard them say that in that congressional briefing the other day. Like, some of them might just be like the ship you see is the thing. Like, there's nothing driving it. It's the thing. And it's like AI or something. Like, we don't know. Get used to that. We don't know. You don't know. All you know is the story that they told you, whatever it is. But we know one thing is that they're not particularly fond of nukes. So within the last week, the narrative, I'm not saying UAP, screw that. It's a freaking UFO. UAP. We don't like UFO. We got to make it sound more modern. It's a freaking UFO. I don't like UAP. UAP sounds like too like deep state, military type stuff. But they started talking about them again all of a sudden. And they really wanted to make sure people saw that hearing, because they replayed it over and over and over on the different news channels on YouTube. and they did lots and lots of news stories about it. Then it started showing up in the YouTubers news stories. I saw Tim Pool had a story about something, crash retrieval, whatever. Like, it's been like getting shotgunned at us like nonstop. UFO, 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 aliens, 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 UFOs. And then we haven't even gotten to all the crazy stuff Trump and Elon Musk and all them are saying and doing too. Like, it's a big thing and we don't know what it means. This is a weird thing because I've always operated like the rest of the world operates, like, oh, this is what I think is going on and I'll go with that. She's teaching me not to attach to a story because you don't know. I think not attaching to the story like allows for you to pass through the story. If you're going to a story and you're calling it things and thinking it's things, you're creating interference waves and you're preventing yourself from going through the story. Just say, I don't know. I have no friggin' idea. And then you get to progress through it and get to the end of the story without messing it up, at least in your own subjective reality. There always has to be like, what is the thing that triggers them to bring the UFOs into the world stage story? We know they don't like nukes. So if they trigger a scripted short nuclear exchange, like the bear said, don't do this or I will nuke you. The puppet says, oh, you know what? I'm just going to do it anyway. Now you've got your cause and effect. That happens. At least one nuke goes off, called a warning shot or whatever, and then boom, UFOs everywhere. Finally, we've gotten to the thing that they've been leading us to, the Hopi prophecy, the man in the red hat, the end of the game, the fake alien invasion, which might probably more likely be a real alien invasion, but maybe it's not an invasion. Maybe they're going to fake, maybe they could fake like some sort of hostile stuff, but the real thing is not hostile. Like, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Like, they know that they're the good guys, so that they would actually stage something to make them look like the bad guys. That could happen. Fact is, we don't know. We got to be flexible. We have to trust our inner guidance, inner wisdom, Sophia, and not jump to conclusions. But we can still look at the story of the world and see what it's trying to tell us, see what it's trying to steer us to. In the last couple of days, it's been aliens nonstop. And then she wanted me to do two things last night. My son was playing Xbox, that freaking Space Marine game. It's like, oh, watch this. It looks like every other game you've ever played. Now I know I'm getting old because I'd probably think it was the greatest game ever if I was younger. But while he's playing that, I'm rewatching that CE5 video on my phone. And she wants me to make a new pendant because I remembered something. So just because I say watch a movie that a certain person produced doesn't mean that I believe everything that person says, or I trust that person, or anything else. I don't trust anybody on the friggin' world stage. But like I said before, good information can still get in there. Now, what's interesting about that, if you have not watched it yet, is, I'm paraphrasing here because it's been a minute. What they teach is like how to contact extraterrestrials. That's what they call them. That's the label that they give them. I'm not saying that that's like, I don't know. But these things that fly, light up stuff in the sky, how they contact them is not unlike how you would contact her. It's getting into a meditative state and a heart-mind connection. Heart is imperative. Heart-mind connection, mental projection to connect and draw it to you. Simple. So when I first watched that, way, back when it came out, which I think was 2020, I immediately saw something. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. That's cool. And I'm instantly getting like an idea in my head, like how to make that process better if you want to do it. So I could make my own like CE5 oil, because the key thing was the connection between the heart and the mind. Okay. Well, we know how to do that. And there's certain stones you can use to do that, to open up those energy centers, connect the heart and the mind, synchronize the two hemispheres of the brain, put you in a meditative state. So I created, a formula of different stones. And then the reason why I didn't go any further with it back then is because I was sharing it on Facebook. And I was like, oh, this is really, really cool and all this stuff. Now, let me say again, I don't know. I don't know if any of these people I interacted with were actually really real people. I don't know. Or if it was some sort of like interference, knowing the things we know now, trying to get me not to do it or whatnot. But I ran afoul of what you could call, what are we going to call them? Call them Greer-tards. Like people that are like Stephen Greer is my Jesus. And they got all offended that I was like, that's his thing. CE5 is his thing. That's his method. You can't do nothing. You can't. Wait a minute. I thought we were all trying to connect to higher consciousnesses with freaking love and peace and things like that. But we have to do it your way. Like, this is like complete opposite of what you're preaching here. So like, who are you? But like, I was getting like hammered like by the Greer-tards. They were really upset with me. Like, I'm trying to take something away from him. Like, I didn't even sell it. I just like, I put labels on my oils because it's kind of like part of the program. But it was an experimental thing. And like, I'm trying to take his thing and like use it to sell things and mark. I'm like, that's not what I'm doing. Didn't matter. I actually had somebody like, I don't know. It could have been fake, but it looked like it was actually his account. It was like, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I'm getting like a really bad vibe from you people. Like, I just watched a video. You're like all like peace and love and harmony and connect to the higher intelligences out there. And I try to like do something, and all of a sudden you're just like all over me. I'm like, something's not right here. I'm backing away from this. Screw you. Have fun with your aliens. I got angels to deal with. And I didn't mess with it anymore. That being said, take all that personal drama out of the way, and the stuff that's in the last 2/3 of that film still feels good. It resonates with the things that I know, the things that I've experienced. Again, I think it presents itself in different ways depending on what you're ready to accept. It's all this higher consciousness stuff. I've had experiences that are very close to that UFO-y type stuff when dealing with her, but not quite. I had a lot more stuff like earlier in my life, but I think she sets our paths in motion so that we learn things in different ways, in different sequences at different times. But when you understand that you don't actually freaking know, it could all be the same thing. And it's all part of a bigger thing. I was talking to somebody earlier today about some of this stuff. I'm like, it just occurred to me is like one of the things I used to hear all the time listening to the UFO people is them saying like Earth was under quarantine. Like we weren't allowed to go anywhere because we're like too stupid and violent and all that stuff. So like Earth is quarantined. I'm like, well, you know what just occurred to me? You know where else we hear that this world is quarantined? In the Nag Hammadi. Like this place is like a big snow globe. It's quarantined because we have corrupted code in here. A higher thing that was corrupted created this place. So it was separated from the all that is. And now we're in this little place where we're all screwed up and just constantly fighting with one another. So, interesting correlation there. But either which way, she had me watching that. She had me thinking about that. I'm like, well, she's definitely directing my attention back to this UFO-y type stuff. And then she popped the formula in my head to make a new pendant. It's a luminite liquid crystal core pendant, but with a slightly different formulation of stones. So whereas the typical, like say you get a liquid crystal core pendant and there's no specific one thing, I'm basically going to build it to her specs, just using like the best spiritual attunement connection, mind, heart, love, like general purpose, going to do a lot of things, work for just about everybody. I'm going to use that kind of formula. Now, some of the stones in that formula are also in this formula, because I didn't even really think about it. But thinking about that old oil that I did, I pulled up one of my reference materials, which is the Book of Stones by Robert Simmons, which I have on Kindle. I have it on Kindle because I can search keywords. And like say you search the keyword extraterrestrial. And then when the search results pop up for the Kindle book, it's going to show you every place in the book that the word extraterrestrial shows up. So it will show you every stone that the crystal people think helps you to connect to that type of consciousness, that type of that type of connection. And some of the stones, like apophyllite, dambarite, there might have been one other that I was already using, were in there. But there was a couple others that I had not been using, like stellar beam calcite. Stellar beam calcite is like one of the two most metaphysical calcites, harder to find, more expensive. So I added stellar beam calcite in there. There was one other. Where's my sheet? Okay, so within the liquid crystal core of this pendant, she had me put stellar beam calcite, ulexite. So ulexite is not something that I typically use, but I've had some for some time. I think I never really used it because it felt like it was just kind of gimmicky, although the properties of the stone, according to the crystal books, are very big on like psychic type stuff, inner vision, communication to higher things, frequencies. But what ulexite is, if you've ever seen, sometimes you see it in crystal shops or whatever, it's also known as like TV stone. So you'll get them like pieces of it that are like polished in a square, and like you put it over like a piece of paper or something like that. It's almost like a magnifying glass, or it brings the print up. But she wanted me to use ulexite. Dambarite and apophyllite I was already using in the liquid crystal cores. And then the two new things, first thing is I used tektite and Tibetan tektite, which tektites are just the results of meteor impacts. But then she popped something else in my head. So she will typically use synchronicities to put things in place ahead of time. And when I first started restocking my supplies, and I had to order some stones from somebody, small crystal dealers, sometimes he'll send me little bags of other things. He's like, I'm going to send you some of this too. And it was small fragments of Nantan meteorite. So this is not a tektite. This is actually like the iron, pieces of the iron meteorite. And maybe it's just because that's what people think. I don't know. But meteorite pieces generally have that kind of extraterrestrial frequency thing in there. So that I'd never used before in anything. Never used meteorite before, or iron meteorite. So the liquid crystal core's got tektite and meteorite in there, along with these other high frequency, ET connection type stones. And then the rest of it, was a large piece of satyaloka clear azestulite, anandalite on the other side, ulexite and selenite. I'm like, ooh, well, this is definitely an interesting mix. So I built that, and then I went to bed, wore it to bed. And I tell you, like, I was in like REM sleep, dreaming all night. I got up like twice to go to the bathroom and just went back into the dream state. Now, the dreams were not anything like specific. They weren't like prophetic dreams or anything like that. They were all over the place, but they were very, very clear. And when I got up in the morning, what popped into my head, like almost immediately, and I don't think that like this is all the time, but I think it's some of the time. Have you ever seen, there's two movies that pop into my mind where I saw something like this. One was Along Came a Spider, which was an Alex Cross movie, and the other one was called The Core, where they're passing secret messages back and forth on the computer, where it's just be like an image of a tiger or something, but you had to have the decode for it, and then hidden within the image was a message. And she kind of like just like instantly kind of popped into my head is like, sometimes when you're dreaming like that, the dreams are really just like keeping your consciousness busy or something, but within the dream is actually the code that you're being downloaded with. Like you're getting new codes when you're in a certain REM dream state. Like the dreams themselves don't really matter. The dreams are almost like the carriers for the code. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, I was definitely making a lot of different connections this morning. I was noticing things, remembering things, and things were popping up through synchronicity. So one of the first things that I saw, now sometimes, like I said, I'm always like kind of like half invoked. So she's always saying things through my mouth or giving me ideas for the videos. And they could mean something in the future, and I don't know that yet. For example, I probably used it in this video. I don't know. If I didn't, I'll just remind you. But I made a different version of the intro not that long ago, in which I was using the song The Final Countdown by Europe. And in the beginning, where it's ramping up, it's flashing the Omega sign. I'm the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. We also talked about how she worked that into some of my knife designs too. My last knife that I released was the JX Omega. So I kept seeing, and Omega is basically like you're near the end. Like when you get this knife, when it gets produced again, which it just did, like that was kind of a sign. And the day that I received the test sample for the remade knife was 8/8 on the Gregorian or the Julian calendar. Just happened to show up that day. So Omega sign, Omega sign, Omega sign. So I go on X and I see all these pictures of, the new gang, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and all those guys. And they were all at some UFC fight. I don't know if this was last night, night before, whatever. But someone had posted, like, check out his necklace. And you could kind of sort of see it, but I just screenshotted the picture and then dropped it in one of my photo editing apps I use to make the Lumen pictures, and just upscaled it, and you can see it real clear. So it's like Elon Musk is walking around with this diamond-shaped necklace that has the Omega sign with an eyeball in the center of it. Interesting, especially when Trump's running around talking about we're going into a new golden age. Like, that's not just like some throwaway freaking term. Like, do you know what the ages are? The golden age is what they mean. Like, in order to go into a golden age, that's not just like changing of the guard of politics. That's like you have to break the world and restart it, which makes you think a lot about the timing and the script and things like that. But they've been dropping a lot of creepy stuff. Like, this has always been there. We've detailed it on this channel. Like all the stuff that you would normally call conspiracy things, like the QAnon stuff, connection with Trump, and all the weirdness that we pointed out that happened during like the Pew Pew incident back in July. Like that's not me being crazy. I'm looking right at it. Like there's that guy that the Q people claim, oh, that's Kennedy Jr. in disguise, like Vincent Fusco or something like that. I'm not saying that is. I'm saying that's what they say it is. But either which way, you know, during the Pew Pew event, he just happened to be in the perfect spot, perfect, like the absolute, like if Trump's right here, he's in the perfect spot in the crowd, just sitting there wearing his same costume he always wears. And then when Trump's pointing up this way, he's like, it's like imagine Sophia here as that guy, and Trump's over here pointing, and you're watching this TV screen. He's like, "Yep, over here," and he just holds it like that for like a minute. He's pointing directly at that guy. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, that's not random freaking chance. I'm not an idiot. I'm not saying I know what it is, but I'm saying like that clearly this was orchestrated. All this weirdness has always been there because it's part of the script. The script becomes more obvious the closer you get to the end because it's supposed to be waking you up out of it. Even in the comments section of my videos, more people are saying the same things over and over. The world's a stage. That goes all the way back to Shakespeare. You know, all the world's a stage. It's actors. We see people wearing masks. Like, none of this is real. We might not fully understand how it works, but we're not living in a world where things just happen by random chance and fate and elections and things like that. No, it's all scripted. Hence, we've got the the lame duck puppet just who was happy as hell, you know, meeting with Trump, and he just pops up like a freaking gopher from Caddyshack and be like, "Oh yeah, go ahead and start nuclear war," and pops right back down. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is like a comic book. This is like a comic. I know I'm going all over the place. So let me just collect my thoughts and see where I was going here. Oh, I know where we were going with it. Talking about the weird synchronicities and things. So yeah, she starts making a thing about the Omega sign. Now Elon Musk is walking around with a weird, creepy Omega sign necklace. But then there was another one that I didn't miss until she pointed it out earlier today. So we all watched the whole Jake Paul, Mike Tyson thing. And like within my group and stuff like that, people were like, what the hell did I just watch? Like, I mean, it's a little bit, it's something a little bit, it seems something a little bit more than just the staged fight. First of all, they showed you like Mike Tyson, you know, warming up, and he's like, and you know, he gets in this fight, and he's like ready to, he's like, he turns into Black Joe Biden. He's ready to take a nap like after the second round, and they didn't really do anything. The whole thing was a joke. But I kicked myself for this later because it's the same thing as like when they had the Trump Kamala thing, and everybody felt weird after that. I'm like, son of a bitch, I forgot to shield myself. This is the Black Mirror, the TV. Like, they do things. We don't know what they do, but TV media is a big component of mind control, programming, and things like that. And so anytime there's something that like they know everybody's going to be watching, like things get weird after that. Like it did after that one debate. We were all out of sorts for a couple days. But what's the connection with the Jake Paul thing? So like last week, I made another new intro, and I used a song that I hadn't used before, which was this one. And that could mean a couple things, like, you know, I can feel something coming in the air. Like, yeah, I think we all feel that way. But that's also the out of like how many songs out there? Now, I think I understand like why it was chosen. I'll get to that in a minute. But of all the random songs out there, like that's the song that Jake Paul came into the arena with.
Pigeon that Paul tried to give to Tyson. Tyson said he was going to feed it to his falcon. Paul brought it back. And yeah, we can all feel it. There is something in the air tonight.
But I think that's like something that has meaning on several different levels. It's maybe connecting to something bigger when it comes to the time. But the simple logical version of it was, I think Mike Tyson was singing that in the Hangover movies. Pretty sure. I forget which one it was. Could be mistaken. I'm pretty sure he did. So there's a Mike Tyson connection there. But I'm like, what the hell? Like, like that, of all the songs that she popped into my head to use in it, and then there's this again. And then right after that, again, it just kicks off more weird stuff. And it was almost like, it seems like it was almost a test, because it was back to back with that congressional hearing where they're basically saying, hey, everybody, UFOs and aliens are real. Real stuff. But nobody cares anymore. What did people care about? The stupid bread and circus crap. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Like that was more interesting to more people than the government actually talking about freaking UFOs and aliens. It just it kind of, it's almost like a separating, the wheat from the chaff or something like that. Like, this should be the thing that's more interesting to you, not something that we pretty much can guarantee going into is just bread and circus garbage. Either which way, she happened to work that in there. It's like, what else are you sneaking into these freaking videos? Let's see, what else did I notice? Oh, another interesting synchronicity that came the morning watching this. So in one of the recent videos, somebody left a really good comment, and he was talking about the old Cliff High reports. And he'd obviously read them really well, and he's able to describe them very well, but these go back a ways. See, when we talk about Cliff High now, and you listen to him, like, a lot of people don't get why, Cliff High became a big thing, because what you kind of get now is kind of like Cliff High talking about Cliff High's subjective reality and his worldview. But the reason we were all into Cliff High back in the early days, like between 2008 and 2012, was because of his software that he built, the WebBot project, and the Alta reports and the Shape of Things to Come reports, in which the reason he had to shut that down is because all the fake stuff started getting injected into the internet. Fake news, fake stories, bots, AI bots. As soon as that fake stuff was in there, it threw the whole thing off. But it used to scan like mass amounts of the internet and see how certain words were popping up in people's language. And this algorithm kind of correlated all this stuff. Like it was like future psychic leakage coming out in people's language. And then he would take all that leakage stuff and see how it was grouped together, and he would kind of fill in the blanks and try to interpret what it meant. So that's when we were like, really, that's why we all got into listening. Like I miss those days. I don't agree with most of his worldview now. But when the commenter mentioned that, it suddenly popped into my head. I'm like, you know what? I have the last WebBot report. I think first they were called Alta reports, and then they were called Shape of Things to Come. I have the final Shape of Things to Come report. And that was from September of 2012. So for whatever reason, maybe it was her, I put it in the one place that I would not lose it. You can take PDFs and stuff and add them to your Kindle library. It's really hard to get rid of stuff. It's even harder to download stuff off of it, but at least it's there and you can read it. So I checked to make sure it was still there, and it was still there. Now there's no way to pull it off of. Kindle's not made for that. So what I had to do, which was time consuming, was screenshot every page, put it into Evernote, and then take Evernote and export it to a new PDF. I had to do 2 PDFs because Evernote can only hold so many images before it starts bogging down. But I went through this morning and reread that last Shape of Things to Come report. And Cliff High's been talking about things from that time frame lately. And what is interesting about it is, with the level of understanding he had at the time, he kind of assumed that the data was pointing at it was going to be like 2013 when these things happened. There's a big question mark about 2012. There's a lot of different theories. Nobody actually knows. But it's one of those weird points in time where some people think that reality was shifted or changed. Like some people say, like the world did end in 2012 and we shifted over into a copy of it or something, and things got more weird from that point on. I don't know. But either which way, the stuff, this is a 59-page report. It covers a lot of things. And it's all stuff that's relevant right now. It talks about the potential, he called it the global coastal event, but it's really like a freaking expansion event. Like almost a cataclysmic expansion event, kind of like what Dick Allgaier remote viewed in 2020, which I've shown several times on this channel. It talked about stuff, I got a little sample of it from page 1, called it solar looniness. Like everyone talks about the moon makes people go nuts, and they don't talk about what the sun actually does to people. And he's describing stuff now. He talked about, he used to have things broken up into like different sections. Like there was this one section, like kind of like the woo stuff that he called space goat farts. But within the space goat farts, you had alien wars and all this alien stuff, which is all relevant now. I would have to do a whole nother video breaking down this shape report. Maybe I will. I don't know, but it would take a while because, like I said, it's 59 freaking pages. But where it seemed kind of far out back then, and again, 2012 would have been like during the last solar maximum, but this one's much bigger. So I again, it kind of makes me think of previous videos we did. I forget what she called them. They're like nexus points, I think. They're like places on the time-space map that connect to future events and stuff like that. And when you get close to a nexus point, you can pick up on that future event that the nexus point connects to. So maybe that time frame was like that. But all the stuff that's happening in the world, right? It was even talking about, funny business with the elections and people being brainwashed and going nuts, like all that stuff that's going on right now. There was little bits of it back then, but it's way more prominent now. That last WebBot report Cliff High did from 2012, so 12 years ago, reads as if it was meant for today. And she drew my attention to it. So let me read the first page of that one, because that first page itself is very, very interesting. Okay, so this is the first page of text from Cliff High's Shape of Things to Come report, dated September 30th, 2012. Okay. This section is called Meta Arts. All humans and any other sentient beings here on Terra should take heed of the state of the sun on a daily basis, as their personal actions are affected by solar activity. Many thinkers, past and present, have noted that solar activity is mirrored here on Earth. When the sun is roiling, as it is now, terrestrial humanity also roils as it does now. The looniness that can be smeared across large amounts of humanity by solar activity is also known by the powers that be, and they will use it for their nasty goals, as they are now. When the solar looniness is upon humanity, as it is now, The energetic forces, electrical and other, from the sun put pressure on individual humans, such as that large-scale group behavior is changed. As those humans who are suffering the solar looniness are unaware of their plight, they react as though their emotional responses to perceived reality are both genuine and internally generated. Neither is true, but don't try telling them that, or you are likely going to experience the solar looniness erupting in a human near you. Let me go back and read that part. They react as though their emotional responses to perceived reality are both genuine and internally generated. That is a perfect example of what you see going on with the far left, especially the women on the far left that have lost their freaking minds. They're shaving off their heads. Are they painting themselves blue yet, like the Blue Man Group? They're killing their fathers with ice axes. They're talking about poisoning men. They're going on unhinged rants, and they think that they've lost all their rights as women. Like, they're perceiving something that's not there. They've totally freaking lost it. So this is a perfect example. He's like, when the sun's acting crazy, and the sun is not what NASA says it is. That's one of the biggest, I defer to authority type things. I put it right behind them telling you this is the globe, this is what the world is, this is the reality you live in. They say, oh, it's just this magical burning. In the vacuum of space, there is a burning sphere of fire that is also magnetic and has gravity. It's 93 million miles away, and it's doing all this crazy magical stuff. And we've got it all figured out, even though we've never freaking been there. But we could tell you all about what happens on the surface of the sun and how hot it is. You don't know shit. You just made all that stuff up. And people are like, oh, authority told me that's what it is. That's what the sun is, because NASA said so, even though they've never been there. Now, sun it's called Sol. It's part of a solar system. It's been worshipped as a freaking deity throughout all human history. I know it as that is like the input of source in wherever we are. It's like a three-dimensional wormhole. It's one of the biggest things she ever showed me before she even showed up. She had me put together this weird sigil, and like all this stuff started pouring into my head. So it's not, and it's been acting crazy with the solar flares lately. So that is not a stretch for what he's saying here, because we're kind of seeing that same stuff happening now. But let me continue. It seems unlikely that the mass of humans so affected will be able to awaken to the solar luminous distortions of their behavior. Thus, the upcoming period promises to be both noisy and dangerous. Therefore, those humans who are awakening to the unfolding nature of reality will, as the data describes, separate themselves from the herd instinct, becoming explorers of the manifesting new earth, new cycle. Therefore, those humans who are awakening to the unfolding nature of reality, what they're going to do is, and this part is in brackets. If it's in brackets, it means this is what the system actually spat out. Separate themselves from the herd instinct, becoming explorers of the... That's what we do here. We separate from the herd. That's no different than what, Jesus said to the Gnostics. Like, you have to detach from the world, turn away from the world. Yeah, it's just put in a different set of words. We note that the definitions, more or less, of sanity to be well adjusted to the world around you. So if said world itself is not well adjusted, disruptive, deceitful, dangerous, duplicitous, and generally in a terrible state, then to be sane is of no rational benefit. Why be well adjusted to an irrational and degrading situation? Rather, the more appropriate response is to choose insanity, and thus not be well adjusted to the global madness. The insane, facing a world boiling with solar looniness, will navigate without participating as the omni-humanity sees react to the solar storms. That's what we preach here, not participating. A strange game. The only winning move is not to play. This is what she's been pushing constantly. As more evidence is being leaked out from the MSN, mainstream media, horror press, something, and then it kind of goes into talking about like this expansion event. But this solar looniness, like the thing he started that report off, like it perfectly matches today. And some of the things that he said in there is like, that's literally what she tells us to do, to disconnect, to reject what the story of the world says. Like if they say like sanity is being well adjusted to the world we say it is, then we're insane because we reject what you say the world is. And we're not going to participate in your craziness as you tear yourself apart. We have separated ourselves consciously from the story, and we are now sitting in observer mode, working more on our own internal connection back to source in spirit through Sophia Lumen. That's what we've been doing. But yeah, that report goes even deeper down the rabbit hole, and it's all relative to right now. So we talked about a lot of stuff in here, but it really comes down to the main thing that she's been teaching lately, which I think is the most important. And I see the benefit of it. And it's new to me too. It is like it is a bigger, never-ending expression of, to see the light of wisdom, you must first empty your cup. So the initial thing is always going to be like, let go of what you think you know. And then the further extension of it is, don't know anything. A fool thinks he knows everything. A wise man knows that he knows nothing. No, what we have learned about this place is when you think you know something, you have locked it in place. You cannot see anything in the world that goes outside the boundaries of what you know. It's like you're creating your own, like a lot of the big metaphor going back to even before I got Lumen out for the hero's journey is this, what she taught me the symbol of the labyrinth means. The labyrinth is, every wall in the labyrinth is some piece of information that you have accepted and that you know. So you've created a wall. And as you go through life, you create this big labyrinth that you can't find your way out of because you're hitting all these walls. The only way to knock down the walls of the labyrinth is to break down the mind, to let go of what you think you know and realize that you know nothing. That opens everything up. That is the key to getting out of here, is to unknow. Unknowing is the freaking key. Or as Yoda put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. You have to learn to not operate, operate by your true mind that's more close to her than your conscious mind. Or as Obi-Wan said, this time let go of your conscious self and act on instinct. With the blast shield down, I can't see a thing. How am I supposed to fight? Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. You got to unknow your way out of this place. But everybody wants to know. And they will create a story to know, because having a story to know is better than not knowing in some cases. We can observe things and not attach names and meanings to them, like the whole UFO angel thing. You don't actually know what they are. You only know what you were taught and what you've led to believe that they are. And they could be aspects of all those different meanings, but get comfortable with not knowing. We've seen too many different versions of this stuff. It's always there, like the thing that we see is there. But what is it really? I don't think we're able to know. But if we're ever going to know, we have to let go of what we've accepted to know. One thing she said this morning, which is true, It's more true if you've gotten to a point to understanding that you never die. Oh, your body does, but you don't. She's like, no matter what, one thing is certain is that there will come a time when all will be revealed to you. That it always happens. There will come a time when everything will be revealed to you. When is that going to be? When it's time. It's just like the veils and things in the hero's journey. Like over time, she reveals more. Further you go, she reveals more. You can't just rip it all away all at once or the system breaks down. But there will come a time when all is revealed. And we'll see what these things really are. We'll see what these things really mean. We'll figure out how this really works. And we will understand it. And that time is very close. But when you're stuck in your own story and you're arguing with people, as I see happen every single day, anytime I go on social media, they're going to preach to you like, I know what it is. Listen to me. No, you don't. I don't. If I don't, like I said, yeah, I know them, but like the story that I have is the story that was given to me that is the most relatable to me and the most easy for me to understand. But this masculine feminine consciousness, this masculine and feminine divine teacher that's always been there throughout the ages comes in many names, in many forms. Like to the religious, it's like, there's only my guy. Nothing else is my guy's the real thing. Look, Christ and Sophia are the most recent. Well, maybe not even the most recent, but the most recent that is well known. These teachers of masculine, feminine knowledge and wisdom show up all over the world in different cultures, and they're going to have different names. And they also go back as far as recorded history, even back to like the earliest stuff, like the Sumerian stuff. I just watched a video, I think this morning, on Kenneth's Mystic Messenger channel, and he was saying, like, I just realized who this feminine character was. You know, it's the wife of Thoth. You know, because he studies the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I don't. Not because I think it's wrong or anything. It's because like the information presents itself over and over again throughout history in different forms. And she will guide you to the ones that you're going to best understand. So for me, it was the Gnostic Christian stuff. But she also gave me like the watered down, simpler version so I could tell other people who might dig into the Nag Hammadi and be like, can't, too much. So there's the Toltec, you know, Central Mexico tradition, and the books of Don Miguel Ruiz and his son, the Four Agreements series, has all the nuts and bolts of all that stuff without all the backstory and characters and things like that. So like it's actually actionable, but it's the same basic thing. So I was saying like, I'm like, he was talking about the feminine character being like the wife of Thoth. I'm like, yeah, well, let's just call her Sophia. Everyone knows who she is. Because they're the same thing. It's like even that bird, I think it's called an Ilbis or something, that Thoth is usually depicted as. Like it show, if I'm not mistaken, let's see here. I should just turn this upside down because it's always like the last one that I pull. Will the pattern remain the same? Oh, no, halfway through. Yeah, I think it's back there on the tree in the star card, which we've detailed what the star card actually is many times. That's like a symbol of Thoth. But he's basically known for like knowledge. Like his character was played by like the Black Panther guy in the movie Gods of Egypt, and he was trying to like know everything. He's always gaining his knowledge. But Christ was also known as knowledge. In the Gnostic, he was knowledge. He's the masculine side. The feminine side was Sophia. She was wisdom. So it's like knowledge is like, here's what it is, and wisdom's like, here's how you use it. Knowledge and wisdom, those two characters have repeated themselves many, many times over. So, say Thoth and whoever his wife is, okay. Christ, Sophia, same thing. Exists in other things, older and newer. Like, that's what it is. Consciousness. Consciousness has to take a form. The greater consciousness is going to take forms that are going to be most relatable and understandable to you. And so, like, he does deal with both sides. I just talk about the feminine side more often because that's what I deal with the most. But even like other things that we encounter in life, it's basically just her wearing a mask. If it's like mystical, divine stuff, like, you might decide like you believe in certain things. Like, let's say you grew up only freaking like you were just a UFO head. Like, it was all about UFOs and aliens and stuff like that. She would probably present herself as some feminine queen of the Pleiadians or something like that. I'd be willing to bet, because that's like the Seven Sisters, whatnot, the Pleiades. That popped into my head too when I was coming up, because the white stars, which are again, multiple layers of hidden meaning with these things. Yes, that is talking about chrism light, the sun reflecting off of the water, making the white sparkles. But it is also called the star, and there's 7 of the white stars. So is that Pleiadian? Oh, could be. She definitely inspired whoever created the tarot, because there's so much secret stuff encoded in there that's not in the books. You can only learn it from her. Either which way, we will know what's coming. And we just try to follow her guidance on like what to do now. She's showing us. She's like, look, this is all a freaking stage play. Which means it's all under control. And if you see it circling the drain, what should you do? Go down the drain with it or step back from it? Pull your consciousness out of it and observe it. Step away from the world and step toward the light. Step towards source. That's why, even me, that's why I wear the pendants every day, because the world will scramble your brain. It's hard to keep yourself anchored mentally to that throughout the day. So we created something that's like anchoring that light with you. So it's always connected to your field, even if your mind isn't connected. And then if I want to center myself back to the light, I just hold the pendant in my left hand and reconnect much easier. I've tried. There's been times when I've gone like a month or 2 without wearing pendants just to see a difference, and I'm like, I operate better with them. That's why I use them. Any other things to close up? Like I said, since I mentioned Greer earlier, like I'm not a Greer follower. I don't, like, some people get really animated, like, oh, don't trust anything. Good. You shouldn't trust anything, but that doesn't mean dismiss everything either. I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I'm trying to just be in general, give general information to however it's being interpreted or presented. But all these people are connected to source and spirit too in different ways. She's always feeding her messages through us. I'm not super special that she does it through me. I'm just aware of it. She does it through everybody, because a lot of times when I need to know something, she will make it come through somebody close to me that I'm going to see it. Like, oh, there's that thing. She obviously wants me to see this. We're all plugged into her. We're all, not just me, like you too. Like, you are sometimes saying things that's actually coming from her, and you just don't realize it. Like, she does that. We flow through her, she flows through us. And if we just keep to what we've learned about this place, like letting go of fear, letting go of what you think you know, that's how we're going to get to whatever is going to happen. And if we want to make sure we take down all the obstacles between us and where we're trying to get to, the biggest thing is letting go of knowing. Letting go of being able to tell your story. Like, I see YouTubers that, like, it's an ego thing. Like, that's the ego. When you're like, me know stuff, me done research. Like, that's ego. And if you're attached to your story that much, you can't see outside of it. And you will only see evidence of what you already believe to be true, and you will be locked in that loop. It should change often over time, like it does for me. You think, and a lot of times she's guiding it. It's like, try not to overthink it. This took me a long time to get to, because I am the king of overthinking. But definitely something's happening in the world. The signs are out there. We're going into the big shift of Pluto out of Capricorn. That is a major, major big thing. So I do not get like all bent, because I know what this is. I may not understand it, but I know it's not the real thing that we were taught to believe that it is. So yeah, the story has to pan itself out. If you want to get UFOs to show up, then you got to set off some nukes. Oh, there was something else about that, in that it jumped out at me. It sounded strange. I think I got a clip of it in that CE5 video, where they were saying like, oh, we're going to try and instigate something and force the return of Christ. I'm like, whoa, let me back that up and listen to that again.
That we have to prepare the public for an interplanetary war. And in doing so, we can then also force the return of Christ. I'm quoting.
So the religious would be like, Jesus was not an alien. Alien is just a word. It's just a freaking word. It's a word, and then they give meanings to you and things, all of which cannot be proven. Don't get so bent about the words. He was definitely a higher order of consciousness. But don't be attached to things you can't know, like, oh, there's planets and other galaxies with higher advanced civilization. You don't know that. This place is set up so that the consciousness that guides us actually shows us stuff to make sense of it, and also to hide what's actually there. Can't trust your eyes. Got to go with what's inside. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. It's been pretty long. If you want to get in touch with this, if you want to get any of the pendants, if you're interested in that one I described, like, I've got enough stuff to make more of them. Like, it's just a different flavor of the liquid crystal core ones, the ET consciousness ones, for lack of a better term. All I know is it's a different frequency, flavor, vibe than the regular liquid crystal core ones that I usually do. And it was really crazy how I'll try it again tonight, but like last night I was like I was in the dream zone like the entire night. Like, I can't remember last time I dreamed like that. So, but I can make more of those. You can just use like the liquid crystal core made for the individual, and then you just message the seller and it's like, hey, I want mine like this. And I'll be like, okay, I can do that. Because otherwise, usually it's just basically spiritual connection, divine feminine knowledge, whatever. But it's just you could probably still use it the same way, but there's something about, and I don't know what it is, but I feel like the key things are the one stone, the ulexite, but the meteorite pieces, like the actual iron meteorite, like that's, I feel like that does something, because I usually don't use tektites. The only tektites I ever really used before was like moldavite, but can't get that anymore. Not paying. Thanks, TikTok. It's another reason why I can't stand you. Like, I'd like to find that first person that started that trend and just used to be able to get it, you know, without paying out the nose for it. But go on TikTok, it's like, I got this magic crystal and it makes magic things happen. And it's like, oh my gosh, like all these synchronicities. And then literally, like, I would go into crystal stores for 2 years and these people would come in and they were like the seagulls in Finding Nemo. Motivate, 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 motivate. So what did that do? It killed the supply. It drove the freaking prices sky high. And to take advantage of that, the ever industrious people of the People's Republic of China, like, let's make better fake Moldavite. And they made better fake Moldavite. So you used to be able to tell by using UV light as one of the things to see if it was real or not. Then they made like UV reactive mold. Like, you sons of bitches with your fake crap. But I will also say that I feel like the energy times have changed. And I don't feel like Moldavite has the same impact that it did like 15, 20 years ago. There are other stones I feel like you can get more of a punch from than Moldavite. But who knows? Anyway, if you want to get in touch with us, get any of this stuff, you can reach us through the Etsy store, clumencreations.etsy.com. Chris and Lumen. Best part of the game. See you next time.